In the annals of American politics, few figures have provoked as much controversy, consternation, and adulation as the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. His ascension to the highest office in the land marked a seismic shift in the country's political landscape, ushering in an era of unprecedented polarization, upheaval, and uncertainty. From the moment he descended the escalator at Trump Tower to announce his candidacy in 2015, Trump captivated the nation with his unorthodox style, bombastic rhetoric, and promises to make America great again. Throughout his tumultuous tenure in the Oval Office, Trump's presidency was characterized by a series of highs and lows, triumphs and tribulations, achievements and controversies. His supporters lauded him as a champion of the forgotten man, a disruptor of the political establishment, and a tireless defender of American interests. His detractors, on the other hand, vilified him as a demagogue, a racist, and a threat to democracy itself. One of the defining features of the Trump presidency was its unrelenting assault on democratic norms, institutions, and values. From his attacks on the free press to his efforts to undermine the independence of the judiciary, Trump demonstrated a blatant disregard for the guardrails of democracy that have long upheld the rule of law in the United States. His refusal to accept the results of the 2020 election, culminating in the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, stands as a stark testament to the fragility of American democracy in the face of authoritarian impulses. Against this backdrop of chaos and upheaval, the recent filing of a lawsuit by the Trump campaign in Nevada represents yet another chapter in the ongoing saga of Trump's quest for political relevance and vindication. The lawsuit, which challenges the validity of ballots received after Election Day, has reignited debates surrounding electoral integrity, voting rights, and the future of American democracy. At the heart of the Nevada lawsuit lies a fundamental dispute over the integrity of the electoral process. The Trump campaign contends that allowing ballots postmarked on Election Day to be counted undermines the sanctity of the voting system and opens the door to potential fraud. This argument reflects broader concerns within the Republican Party regarding the expansion of mail-in voting and its perceived vulnerabilities to manipulation. However, critics of the lawsuit argue that it represents a thinly veiled attempt to suppress voter turnout, particularly among marginalized communities who may rely heavily on mail-in voting. They point to the timing of the lawsuit, coming amidst a nationwide debate over voting rights and access to the ballot box, as evidence of its partisan motivations. The legal battle in Nevada is just one example of the larger struggle playing out across the country over the future of American democracy. In recent years, restrictive voting laws, partisan gerrymandering, and efforts to undermine the legitimacy of election results have become increasingly prevalent, raising concerns about the erosion of democratic norms and institutions. Against this backdrop, advocates for democracy have mobilized to defend the principles of free and fair elections. From legal challenges to grassroots organizing, the fight to safeguard electoral integrity has taken on new urgency in the face of mounting threats to democratic norms. As the Nevada lawsuit unfolds in the courts, its outcome is likely to have far-reaching implications for the future of voting rights in America. Depending on the ruling, it could set precedent for similar legal battles across the country and shape the electoral landscape for years to come. In an era of heightened political polarization and partisan strife, the struggle to protect the integrity of American democracy has never been more urgent. The outcome of the Nevada lawsuit will not only impact the electoral process in that state, but may also influence broader debates surrounding voting rights, electoral integrity, and the health of American democracy as a whole. Ultimately, the fate of American democracy rests in the hands of its citizens. By remaining vigilant, informed, and engaged in the political process, Americans can work together to ensure that the principles of democracy endure for generations to come. As the Nevada lawsuit demonstrates, the fight for electoral integrity is ongoing, and the stakes could not be higher. In delving deeper into the intricacies of the Nevada lawsuit filed by the Trump campaign, it's essential to understand the broader context in which it operates. The lawsuit's focus on ballots postmarked by Election Day reflects a broader trend of legal challenges to voting rights and electoral procedures, particularly in the aftermath of the 2020 presidential election. Following Trump's defeat in the 2020 election, he and his allies waged a relentless campaign to challenge the legitimacy of the results. Baseless claims of widespread voter fraud, particularly in states where Trump lost by narrow margins, became a rallying cry for his supporters. Despite numerous court rulings and recounts affirming the integrity of the election, Trump and his allies persisted in their efforts to overturn the results. The Nevada lawsuit represents a continuation of this pattern, seeking to invalidate a state law that allows for the counting of ballots postmarked by Election Day. While proponents of the lawsuit argue that it aims to safeguard the integrity of the electoral process, critics contend that it is part of a broader strategy to disenfranchise voters and undermine confidence in the democratic process. Moreover, the timing of the lawsuit raises questions about its underlying motivations. Coming at a time when voting rights are under increasing scrutiny and partisan polarization is at an all-time high, the lawsuit reflects the broader political dynamics shaping the electoral landscape. One of the central issues at stake in the Nevada lawsuit is the balance between election integrity and voter access. While proponents of stricter voting laws argue that they are necessary to prevent fraud and maintain public trust in the electoral process, critics contend that such laws disproportionately impact marginalized communities and serve as barriers to voter participation. In recent years, Republican-led efforts to enact stricter voting laws have proliferated across the country, prompting backlash from voting rights advocates and Democratic lawmakers. From voter ID requirements to restrictions on early voting and mail-in balloting, these laws have been criticized as thinly veiled attempts to suppress voter turnout, particularly among communities of color. The Nevada lawsuit fits into this broader pattern of efforts to restrict voting rights and undermine the democratic process. By challenging the validity of ballots postmarked by Election Day, the Trump campaign is seeking to impose tighter restrictions on mail-in voting, which has become increasingly popular in recent years, particularly in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the legal basis for the lawsuit remains a point of contention. Critics argue that existing Nevada law allows for the counting of ballots postmarked by Election Day to ensure that all valid votes are counted, while proponents of the lawsuit contend that such ballots should be disqualified to prevent fraud and maintain the integrity of the electoral process. As the lawsuit proceeds through the legal system, its outcome is likely to have significant implications for voting rights and electoral procedures in Nevada and beyond. Depending on the ruling, it could set precedent for similar challenges to voting laws in other states and shape the trajectory of future elections. In the broader context of American democracy, the Nevada lawsuit underscores the ongoing tension between election integrity and voter access. As the country grapples with questions of how to safeguard the integrity of the electoral process, while ensuring that all eligible citizens have the opportunity to vote, the outcome of the lawsuit will serve as a bellwether for the future of voting rights in America.